At 5:30 a.m. on July 16, 1945, a plutonium implosion bomb exploded, blasting the world out of the machine age and into the nuclear age. The code name of this top-secret project was Trinity. The Trinity test was a dangerous turning point that brought the world one step closer to a nuclear cataclysm that could lead to the end of the human race. The Trinity test was a part of the top-secret World War II government program known as the Manhattan Project. After it was discovered that nuclear fission could be used to create extremely powerful weapons of unharnessed destruction, President Franklin D. Roosevelt worried that Nazi Germany would begin development on nuclear weapons. This led to the establishment of the Manhattan Project, headed by General Leslie Groves. The Manhattan Project's goal was to design and develop a nuclear weapon before Nazi Germany. The Manhattan Project had three main sites, one of which was Los Alamos, New Mexico. General Groves set up a laboratory for bomb development, which involved some of the world's best scientists, led by theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. For a uranium bomb, a fairly simple gun-type design would be able to detonate, but at Los Alamos, they were using plutonium. It quickly became clear that if this method were used on plutonium, it would explode early. The scientists were forced to go with a different design. Oppenheimer decided to stake everything on the implosion-designed plutonium bomb. After a number of problems, development on the bomb that had been nicknamed the Gadget finally got off the ground. By 1944, scientists at Los Alamos began to voice their concerns about whether the building of nuclear weapons was ethical. There was even a meeting to discuss the impact of the Gadget on civilization. They discussed why they were still developing a bomb, even though the war was virtually over. The scientists worried what the world would be like after the war and whether they were doing something good or bad. Many felt their patriotic duty was to help the United States win the war, but some worried about America monopolizing this new weapon, and a few even wanted to share the secret information with America's ally, the Soviet Union. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide. Germany surrendered soon after. Physicist Emilio Sergei wrote in his memoirs, "Now that the bomb could not be used against the Nazis, doubts arose." Many of the scientists believed the only justification for nuclear weapons was defeating Hitler and the Nazis, and now the war was over. But despite the ethical dilemmas over the building of nuclear weapons, development on the Gadget continued. A pair of scientists had been working on molding plastic explosives, assembling heavy bomb cores, and testing them in a canyon. The design for the plutonium bomb was nearly finished, and now they had to decide whether or not a test was necessary. Oppenheimer insisted that a test would be essential to determining the capabilities of the bomb and whether it would even work, but General Groves argued that they couldn't spare that much plutonium. However, he finally gave in when Oppenheimer said that if they didn't test it, the use of the Gadget over enemy territory will have to be done substantially blindly. Oppenheimer, inspired by the poems of John Donne, named the test Trinity. The test was set for July 16, 1945. 210 miles south of Los Alamos, the bomb was hoisted onto a huge steel tower in preparation. The planes were known as Jornada del Muerto before the test, but would afterwards be known as the Alamogordo bombing range. July 15th was the day for final checks. That evening, there was a huge thunderstorm. The test couldn't go forward if the rain continued. The scientists hoped that the storm would clear up before the test started. It would be difficult to get everything up to that level of readiness again. Then, the head meteorologist announced that there would probably be a break in the storm from 5 to 6 o'clock a.m. He was right. A few minutes after 5, the bomb was armed. In 20 minutes, it would explode. The last few scientists at the tower drove away. Oppenheimer's bomb shelter was 6 miles away from the blast site. This was where the world's first nuclear test would be run. And in 20 minutes, a whole new era of uncertainty and danger would begin. The 5-minute signal was a green flare that was shot into the sky. Soon, there was only 1 minute left. Then 30 seconds. Then 10. Then 5. Then 1. And then... everyone there remembered it for the rest of their lives. General Thomas Farrell described the explosion as a searing light with the intensity many times that of the midday sun. Robert Serber, who was wearing no eye protection, said, "I saw first a yellow glow, which grew almost instantly into an overwhelming white flash so intense that I was completely blinded." Richard Feynman remembered a ball of orange that starts to rise and then billow a little bit and get a little black around the edges. Oppenheimer whispered, "It worked." Soon after the light came the sound. The noise of the explosion traveled across the desert and even knocked a few scientists over. The test had succeeded. Some people were dancing and pouring whiskey, but soon they realized the implications of what had happened. We turned to one another and offered congratulations for the first few minutes, physicist Isidore Rabi recalled. Then there was a chill, which was not the morning cold. It was extremely solemn, Oppenheimer also remembered. We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. He remembered a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, destroyer of worlds." In 1945, the test meant that the United States had a weapon they could use to deter and threaten other hostile superpowers. But Trinity was also the biggest step down a road that will always leave the world at risk of a nuclear holocaust. We will never be able to undo what happened at the Trinity test, just like we will never be able to uncreate nuclear weapons. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are just the tip of the iceberg. In the future, countries may launch ever more powerful nuclear weapons against each other, while nuclear reactors can melt down or leak, and radiation may harm life on the planet in unforeseen ways. The Trinity test forever changed the world as we know it. Now, we have to live with the consequences.